Show me your news!
And now, coming through your speakers and into your ears, it's the gaming podcast that you all know and love. It's Show Me Your News!
Your favorite Super Smash Bros. Brawl podcast from 2007 continues to cover the latest in the video game industry at ShowMeYourNews.com. Now, let's join the show. Welcome to Show Me Your News,
the pinnacle for delivering and debating the gaming news that matters the most to you.
Rumor-filled gossip, hardware blunders, or upcoming releases.
If it relates to video games, we want to talk about it.
I am Peter, but you may know me as Yoko, and I am getting married in less than a week.
I am Rachel, but you may know me as Evie, and I am too, funnily enough, think I might be at your wedding.
I am Joe, but you may know me as the Debaga, and what?
I'm Ben. You may know me as Gym Leader Ben, and I'm dehydrated.
Oh dear.
Oh boy, gotta get those fluids going, get that gaming news pumping in your system.
That's not quite fluid though.
Oh,
Liquid
the gaming
poison.
industry changes every day.
Unless, you know,
my
your
darling.
IGN and it's like, you know, too much water.
Too much water,
There you go.
exactly. Well, Rachel, welcome to America for real now.
Hi!
You moved last week. You've
I
been here a
did.
week. How's it feel?
Very tiring.
Yeah.
There's been a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been like 2 days where I've had a chance to really just relax all day.
Yeah, and especially with our wedding planned for
Yeah.
next weekend.
I've been doing a lot of stuff with your mom. I've been doing a lot of stuff with my mom because she's also over for a couple of weeks visit.
Yep.
And it's just, there's still a lot to do, and I've got more to do tomorrow, and Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday.
Oh, wow. And we just put in the time here to get out a podcast for you guys here on Show Me Your News because we are part of the SMYN network at ShowMeYourNews.com. Now, today is Sunday, July 19th, 2015. This is episode 183 of the podcast, the last episode where Rachel and I are single people, simply engaged. We'll just be a committed, married couple.
Well,
How
like,
cute.
it's the last week I will have... Oh, hello. I will have the Yates surname. Sorry, he was interrupting me by putting his lips towards mine, and I was like, I am talking here. That's very rude. Okay, thanks.
There you go. But yeah, we'll be introducing you differently next time this
Alright.
show rolls around.
Next time it'll be Rachel Spasia.
Wow,
How about that shit?
that's pretty crazy.
My initials will no longer spell really.
That'll just be for reals.
Yeah.
Joe and Ben, how you doing this week?
We went whole hog on Let's Plays last week, actually.
Nice.
Recording mostly more Final Fantasy 12.
Nice.
But
Captain
also,
Bosch of Dalmasca.
They just joined the party.
Yeah,
I'm
Or not-
Captain Bosch!
Not Bash, but Balthier and Fran just joined the party. I'm sorry.
yeah, while recording, we have
I love
just got
Fran!
back here.
Fran's the best.
Fran's my fucking spirit animal. I love her. And her accent. I just love her accent more than anything else.
We've also recorded some of Sly 2, because that'll be starting right after Sly 1 is done in
Very
the next
nice.
few weeks.
Cool.
Well,
When it comes to recording some Let's Plays, there's going to be a new series which we'll be doing soon.
We'll share more info on that later in the show, though, so that's what they call a tease.
yeah.
Let's get into our first topic, though, and it is a sad one. It happened about a week ago, and gosh, I know we were right in the middle of playing Mario Kart 8 when we heard the news of Satoru Iwata's passing.
Yeah. It was really sad.
President of Nintendo, a longtime programmer, a person who's really an ambassador for games as a whole, and to be the president of a multi-billion-dollar multinational company like Nintendo and still care that much about games and what they can do for people, that really meant a lot in this industry, and it's a big loss for Nintendo. I mean, there had been stories that he hadn't been feeling well. He hadn't really gone to the past 2 E3s because, he'd stayed behind for his health. And, he had slimmed down, which then he even had the concern to think, like, I need to send out an updated me, for the community because my current status does not reflect how my me currently looks. I mean, that was the way he thought. He thought about
He was
the
an amazing
community
guy.
and just amazing in general.
It's just so sad, like, he was taken from us, unfortunately, by cancer.
Yeah, it's strange. Like, it was reported as a bile duct growth.
But then after looking at, news articles after that, it's, they said basically it was cancer. And, when you look at, like, how we did presentations and things like that, you just sort of think, did he did he take chemo? Did he not? Because, like, he always seemed to have, like, full head of hair and, eyebrows and everything like that else.
It's tough to say. And, Nintendo, like we've said for years, like, they're very good at keeping their secrets.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like this.
I mean, that's just stuff I wonder. I don't want to pry into his private life.
Of course not.
I mean, this is a point where I'd like to, like, respect his privacy.
Of course.
And just say how sad we feel about him leaving us.
The outpouring on the internet was remarkable, though. I mean, Joe and Ben, I'm sure you saw plenty of different tributes and pictures on Miiverse, pictures on Twitter, well wishes on different social networks. It was remarkable to see.
Oh, yeah.
I poked around on 4chan. Like within an hour of the news spreading online, if you went to the V board, which is a video game board on 4chan, or one of the video game boards, after a couple seconds it would start playing Smiles and Tears from Earthbound. And, oh my gosh.
That's
Just made it so much sadder.
It has to be something like this that happens to make 4chan actually be a place that you'd want to visit.
We have Ben came into my room and he's like, V is just they're really emotional right now. I've never seen those motherfuckers emotional about anything in my entire life.
Yeah.
And then you get someone like Iwata.
I mean, gosh, he started programming Balloon Fight, and if you have not seen our Let's Play of Balloon Fight, we do recommend going to see that on youtube.com/SMYN network.
I think it turned out kind of well.
Yeah, I liked it.
I liked how it turned out. We learned that Rachel's a Balloon Fight fiend.
I
Apparently,
never
yeah,
played it
she's
before.
prodigy.
It was my first day.
Very, very good. Let's see, he programmed that. He had, hand in Earthbound.
He basically, from what I have read, he is the reason Earthbound ever actually even came out. Because I guess the game was just in an unworkable mess of a state when he got to it, and he was like, nah, step the fuck back, I got this. And just reprogrammed the entire game from the ground up, made it work. Iwata's the reason why Earthbound exists.
A lot of different stories like that I think it'd be fitting for us to share. And in case you've missed some of them, to talk about our favorites, Pokemon is another one that he's given credit for, especially Gold and Silver. How, they made Johto and they had that all set up, but then the team wanted to have Kanto in there. They couldn't get it to work, though, because, on the cartridge it was just too big, and Iwata, being the programming master he was, compressed all that data down enough to put Kanto, the land from Red and Blue, in there as well as Johto, the new land from Gold and Silver. That's remarkable. Also, stories of Pokemon Stadium, how to make that game, turn around and work, he looked at the code, the battle code specifically, from Red and Blue, and was able to synthesize it perfectly into Pokemon Stadium's engine to make that work. I mean, it's remarkable. And
he was a programming badass.
What a programming badass indeed. I mean, just even as an executive too, because, taking over for Yamauchi after that era of Nintendo, so around 2002 I think the change was made. I mean,
he was the first non-member that was not a member of the Yamauchi family to take over Nintendo.
Yeah, and that's it's a
100
big
years.
step. A big step indeed, and he was the man in charge of the company that introduced during that time the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo Wii. Two mammoth monster systems that changed gaming as we know it. And yeah, it's tough because you see, that trio that now we had really known Nintendo for, with Iwata, with Miyamoto, with Reggie. And so there's thoughts like, if it was cancer, they had to know that, maybe we should start looking for our replacement in advance. Like, it can't have been too much of a surprise to Nintendo as it was to us.
Yeah.
And I think they did know, because I've seen a lot of people, they came to the realization of, oh, that Muppet thing at E3 was so we wouldn't see how sick Iwata was.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I think, that combined with Miyamoto's love for Muppets and all that, I think that's probably a
The
combo
combination.
deal there.
Yeah.
Iwata's plans, I think, have been kind of laid. Of what they're going to do with NX in general. I think his input has been taken with that. So, people are saying, what's going to happen with Nintendo? I think in the short term, not much is going to change. Because I think they're on their path of what they want to do, progressing with NX next year, and if it is going to be a console handheld sort of combo system, that would be great. But he said that games should be fun for everyone,
Yeah.
and that he was a gamer at his core, whether or not he thought like an executive or he was a programmer by trade or something like that. So they try to think about the gamers at heart, and the one thing that they don't slip up on is they keep making great games. I mean, regardless of how underpowered the system is, or how much they don't use the gamepad, or how under tech that is, the games for Wii U are still great, and that's still going to be the core of what Nintendo is going to be doing. Regardless of their collaboration with DNA and things like this, I think as long as it keeps focusing on the games, I think Iwata's plans have been laid, kind of in place. And now I think almost the question is going to be, do they take the bold step of maybe bringing someone like Reggie into a Japanese company, or are they going to, maybe produce or promote someone who's a little more internal, a little more unknown? I wonder what that next step is going to be for their leadership.
Well, I'm not going to pretend to be like an expert on Japanese business practices, but I feel like I can basically guarantee you that they're not going to put a white guy in charge of their company. A lot of people like to forget that Japan as a whole is xenophobic, sort of. They don't really take kindly to outsiders all that much. To a degree. Like, they're not super racist or anything like that, but they like their space a lot.
It's a proud culture.
And so I don't really foresee Nintendo taking Reggie and saying, like, all right, you're in charge, because I don't feel like that would go over very well. As much as Iwata and Miyamoto got along with Reggie, I don't feel like that would be the move that a Japanese company would take.
Well, of course, it's certainly not going to be Miyamoto. I mean, that's not only is he getting towards the end of his career, he wants to stay in more of a creative aspect, helping some of the smaller developers, and simply he just doesn't have the business mind, which is fine, because you want him to have that kid at heart creative, thinking.
Yeah.
Which it just goes back to how remarkable Iwata was, that he had the thought process of a gamer, but yet he still had the business acumen to be able to lead that company.
I mean, my first experience of Iwata, as I've said previously on other pieces of media, was, I think it was a direct where he was holding up bananas. Mm-hmm. That was my first experience of actually, watching him do something. And I sort of looked at this man and thought, I don't know why you're holding these, but I think I'm in love with you. And I just admire him for all the different things that he's done. I looked at him as more of, the front face that you would see on these directs. I looked at him more that way. Before the news of him passing away, I had no idea how much of a programmer he was.
Yeah.
Same.
I don't often look into how in depth people do their jobs, or if they do different things. I probably should do that a lot more. Even from the few experiences I saw of him. I mean, especially when he was doing all the fighting sequence with Reggie.
Yeah,
that was my
one.
favorite.
That's a great one. It's a great memory. Yeah.
I loved that one so much. I just thought he was great, and I am so sad that, along with many others, that we'll never get a chance to meet him ever again. I would have had that on my bucket list.
Yeah, goodness, I mean, you mentioned the bananas, and at the same time we were...
Yeah, the day the day the news came out, we were shopping for bananas.
Yeah.
And, you made the impression of him holding up the bananas.
And that's really sad, too, because, that was on the 12th that we all found out when that news broke, but he had passed on the 11th.
Yeah.
And it's just, shows how the secret of the news was. But yeah, our community really owes a lot to him, not just as president of Nintendo, but, getting his start at HAL Laboratory and working with Masahiro Sakurai and, help getting Kirby's Dream Land off the ground, but also developing the prototype that would eventually become Super Smash Brothers together with Masahiro Sakurai.
A story that I really liked hearing, he is a huge part of Melee being the game that it is and coming out at the time that it did, because apparently they needed to get it out at a certain time. They couldn't miss this date, and I guess it was a buggy mess that they were just having the hardest time bug testing it and all that, and debugging it and making sure it was actually ready to be released. And so I guess Iwata said that was his last time as a programmer It was right before he stepped into a higher. This wasn't before he became president, obviously, but after he became
very
president.
close to it, though.
And he stepped in and he helped them basically spearhead the whole process of debugging Melee. And so basically, he is the reason that Melee plays the way it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my goodness, just for the Smash Brothers reasons alone, I mean, with what our community was really founded on, that love of Smash Brothers and how Show Me Your News began. But the one story I've shared on our Let's Play, and the one I really liked hearing, was told by Jeff Keighley on Twitter, and how it was done with the reveal of the Wii Remote, and it was at an E3, and it was after the conference that it was revealed at, and Jeff was working for the company he was working with at the time, having an interview with Iwata, and it was done in Japanese, and Iwata was speaking with the translator and all that to really get the key messages across. And then after the interview, Iwata speaks to Jeff Keighley in English, and basically paraphrasing, Jeff, I think that was a great interview. I can tell you have a really big passion for games, so I want to show you something. Because up at that point, the Wii Remote was all about you can point it at things and you can do, swiping motions and all this sort of stuff, whether it was, Red Steel with the sword or Metroid Prime, ducking and, pointing and firing, whatever. But then he shows Jeff turning the Wii Remote on the side. Jeff, recounted that's, maybe where he thought, maybe that's how some games can be played. Maybe it was kind of the hint of what would eventually lead to, the Virtual Console on Wii. And things like that. Just, you could tell the passion in other players and other people who worked in the games industry, and if you're genuine and all that. Just seeing throughout the game industry just how many people had, the best words to say. I mean, it's one thing for the internet to be snarky and all that, but people in the profession and in that industry, really, really respected the hell out of Satoru Iwata, and it's gonna be a significant loss. I think Nintendo will still be fine in the future. Not if that's not knocking, his leadership ability. I think his plans were laid
They
out.
will have prepared for this.
Yeah,
Because he'll have known.
And he helped establish a culture there that they'll be honored to carry forward. It has been a tough week for Nintendo, certainly, whether you could see it on their social media channels or even things like, Bill Trinan, who is going to be attending EVO, but, of course, certain more important things came up, like Iwata's son's funeral. So, yeah, it's hard to wrap up that kind of topic, but, it's something we had to lead with, and, we didn't even want to do, a soapbox or anything like that. You got to wait for the full podcast, timing aside and all that. So
I just really like the way Jim Sterling put it, which was, I think today I'm going to go buy some bananas and I'm going to take a picture with them because I feel like that's how I'd want to be remembered, as a CEO that had fun.
Yeah. When you care about the passing of a CEO of a company, that means a lot. So thank you, Iwata-san, for really all you did and for making the game industry a better place.
Arigato.
Show me your news!